the team has to come first. Like,
Of course.
you get the praise. Like, you're like, people will talk about your name. People are gonna like interview you. They're gonna take photo of you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, sexism out the door, racism out the door.
It's not the guest that's the most important person in the restaurant. It's your team. It's your dishwasher. It's your cook.
And most people are like, "Oh, you're a full-time content creator." No, I'm not. I'm not gonna do anything for clicks.
Just for the
because-
camera, just for the gram.
Again, I got burnt out from creating like a video every single day. It was very expensive. That breaks my heart. People on the street will stop me. I love so the Trashed series, and I'm like, what about the cooking content? Every culture is binded. Like, we have the same dishes.
Takes a lot of reps of failing even before you taste your first success.
It's like simple things as making a proper julienne.
Welcome to Stirring the Pot. And today we have a very special treat for you. Our guest is none other than very important and very special Chef Romian Avril. He's Michelin-trained and has made a smooth transition to content creation and private dining experience. From working to one of the most fancy restaurants to creating content for our entertainment on Instagram, like Serve It or Trash It. And now he's also the author of one of the cookbooks. He has truly done it all. If you're someone who wants to know behind the scenes of working in the Michelin restaurant, or you're someone who wants to know how to balance between being a cook or being a content creator, or you're simply here for some culinary inspiration, this episode is for you. With further ado, let's welcome Chef Romian Avril. How are you today?
I'm great. Besides the snow that we have outside, I mean, you know, we are doing okay. We're healthy. We eat well. We sleep at night. We have warm in our houses. So yes, everything is okay.
That's good. This is a lot of snow. Like, we haven't seen this kind of snow in
It's
a
been
while.
a few years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like the whole city it's the end of the world.
Yeah. I'm actually really excited to have you because I have a little fun story for you, but we'll get into that later
Okay.
in the
I like
episode.
fun stories.
Yeah, it's really fun. You'll be actually surprised by it. But you're a Michelin-trained chef. How's it like working in Michelin restaurants? Like, for us from the outside in, our only point of reference is shows like The Bear
Mhm.
or movies like The Burned. Do you think it's like a somewhat true depiction?
To me, The Bear was the closest one, the closest show that I've seen that was just like give me anxiety, like give me PTSD, because it was
Yeah.
just like, oh no, like this is real. This is like exactly what it was.
I didn't make it through second season. It gave me like major PTSD.
There's few episodes where like I
had to turn it down and I would like take
Yeah.
a minute. I'm like, okay, like let me just take a minute and get back to it.
No, for sure. It is that, and that's what it is. I mean, it's a really, really hard experience. Like, you start really early in the morning and you finish really late at night. There's a lot of pressure. It's also like probably the most, and again, it's been a while since I've been in a Michelin-star kitchen, but they were
Yeah.
really toxic environment as well. Probably due to a lot of that, but definitely things that I've tried to change when I was in charge of a kitchen, because I didn't like it for me. So I know the guys who are working for me, guys and girls, are not going to appreciate it either.
Yeah.
So a lot of, and again, it has changed now. They give you, like in France, for example, a lot of the restaurants that have stars, you only work 3 days a week. You're going to work a ton those 3 days, like the way we used to.
Yeah.
But at least you have a few days off, right? Like, they try to work on mental health. So like they are trying to implement things because they understand how difficult it is to work in a Michelin-star restaurant. But one thing though is you learn so much and so quickly
Yeah.
that when you go into, you have your own restaurant. So when you try to climb the ladder, you climb it a lot faster because your skills are just so much sharper, especially for someone like me who had the chance to do it from such a young age, because you know nothing and you learn the right way right away. It's not like you have to learn the
Yeah.
proper way. You've given with, you don't know how to cut a carrot. Well, I'm going to show you like the best way to cut a carrot.
Like your fundamentals are so strong.
Exactly. Your base, your knife skills, like your fundamentals, understanding why you're doing things as well. So that gave you like straight up like an edge on somebody who hasn't, right? So I was definitely lucky that I got to get exposed from a young age. But would I do it now at like almost 40? No way. But would I do it again back when I was 13, 14? Absolutely. Like, I am here today because of my training, for sure.
It certainly gives you a very fine edge over everyone else when you have like such good fundamentals, like especially if you're in Michelin star.
Yeah.
You can you talk about more about the perfection part? Like all we see in those movies is like perfection,
It's the
perfection,
rulers.
perfection.
Like we work with a ruler.
Yeah, you work with a ruler. Like
Yeah.
how what does it do to you mentally? Because like I know I've worked kind of in a fine dine restaurant as well, and I've worked in a very casual restaurant as well. I feel my mental health is way better in that casual restaurant where I'm just like, okay, like I'm not being watched all the time. My Julians are not being like monitored with a ruler, or like my chef won't throw out my orders because they were not fine enough. Like how does
That's
that play
that's
out?
that's what you're mentioning is literally something I've been through. I don't think you realize that it's bad or it's like toxic or it's not healthy while you're in it.
Yeah,
Because all you think about is work and then you go home, you sleep and you go back to work. And it's
yeah.
just like every
It's
day.
like a
So you are,
big blur in your mind.
yeah, you just like do it. But like when I was at a 2-star in London, when I first arrived, I was in charge of all the herbs for the
Mm,
restaurant, which means I had to do like 30 different cuts of herbs. And we're talking like the finest of the
finest
finest,
herbs.
like cutting squares of basil with a ruler, literally. And then I think one time I had like, I can't remember what it was, but let's say there was one piece of parsley that was not a millimeter, but 2 millimeter. And it was just before service. And I can still picture it. My chef just looked at me and then like threw it in the garbage. And I'm like, for one little like
I feel like
strand.
all of us had the same experience. I've literally had the same experience where I cut a chive, like a bunch of chives, and the chef looked at it and it didn't look like a dust. So he literally grabbed it, dumped it in the garbage 5 minutes before the service.
And it's like it's wrong for so many reasons. The first one being like food waste. I'm very, very against like food waste is a big thing for me.
Yes.
Something I posted on social media how to reuse things. At George Brown, when I'm teaching, I'm trying to tell the students, hey, like be thinking of that at all time. So when you see this, and I guess I understand like the guest is gonna pay like at a time 350 pounds for so like $600 for dinner. I get it, it's very expensive. It has to be perfect. But does that strain of parsley actually going to make that much of a difference? The problem is this is the mantra you're into. This is like the philosophy is like perfection every time. We are like 24 in the kitchen to do like 80 covers. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like it's that kind of perfection. So there's a lot of good to it. I just think like the whole thing is changing, but it has to be thought out so people aren't literally like stressing when they walk through. Like as a chef, I never stressed once when I was an actual in charge of my kitchens.
Yeah.
I would walk into my kitchen, say hi to everyone, and be like, "All right, it's gonna be a good day." In the kitchens that I was in the stars restaurant, like I would like be so stressed and so anxious and not sleep well because I know that doesn't matter what happened, it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be super stressful.
Like especially just getting into the restaurant before your day starts. Like I remember I would have like minor panic attacks sometimes.
Yeah,
I would be like, okay, like today is a big day, it's a menu change day,
yeah,
everything has to be perfect, like all things have to be perfect, to the point where like just entering before the restaurant I would just like shut down.
yeah. I mean, like for example, also like at the 2-star in London, we were open for lunch, and the lunch menu changed every week. So Monday morning,
Every week.
every week.
Oh
So
my
Monday
god.
morning was complete panic every time for me because you walk in the kitchen at 7:45 with a menu you've never seen before. You have to be ready by 11:30, and it's like a 2 Michelin-star menu. So you have to literally like
Attention to
figure it out,
detail,
right?
everything. Oh
So
my
and
god.
that's changing every week. So that on top of the cleaning, on top of like everything else, you're just like it's bonker, and you're not even being paid well, which is the funny part. Well, it's not funny, but
But yeah, not funny, but you're like massively
yeah,
underpaid at that point for the
yeah,
level of skills that you're expected to have, plus the amount of time you put into the restaurant.
yeah.
You're like very much underpaid.
Yeah, and that's why it's changing a lot right now. Like I still would tell people like I think it's important to have an experience in a mission style environment, even if you do it 6 months, 3 months, just to see what it is
Mhm.
and to see if you like it or not. But even now, like if you look at Top Chef France, which is the best Top Chef there is, like
Yeah,
the show is insane what they
yeah,
are demanding of the candidates.
yeah.
Even the people who are now winning Top Chef no longer open Mission Star restaurant. They open like little like brasseries. They're opening someone that has a food truck.
Mm.
Like even in France, it's changing because people like, it's funny. Two of my Michelin-star chef, 1 star and a 2 star.
Yeah.
One like quit. They both quit the Michelin-star environment.
Mm-hmm.
One has like a little like a boutique. He does like butchery and like salads and things like this. And another opened like a brasserie because there's a point where you just can't anymore. It's too much, right? So
Yeah.
a good experience, but it's like everything in life, like to be enjoyed with limits. You know what I mean?
Limits, yeah.
Like,
You need to put some sort of limit.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear that now that I'm talking to a lot of chefs like you, it's good to hear that everyone wants to change that mindset and that narrative, because like you're not the first person who's saying like, oh,
Yeah.
when I go into the kitchen, I make sure that I'm calm, I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
So because for sure, like how you are will dictate how the kitchen performs as well. So you don't want to create that toxic environment. So it's
No,
good to hear that.
For sure. And to me, this is actually the most important. Like I've
Yes.
said it like many times, and I will say it like until like my last interview ever. The team has to come first. Like
Of course.
you get the praise. Like you're like, people talk about your name. People are gonna like interview you. They're gonna take photo of you. And I've always told the team as like, at the end of the day, without you, I'm nothing. And I think as a chef, the only way to success is to understand that your team. Like I remember one day I was doing the dishes
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, chef, like no." I'm like, if I'm not here right now, the kitchen is fine. But if the dishwasher, if the guy on fish is not here, it's gonna be a shit time because like somebody is not where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm just here to make sure everybody is there. But realistically, I'm not important. Like I'm not like, yes, I'm gonna
You're
go
here
pass.
to supervise,
I'm
but
a supervise,
yeah.
but I'm not literally here like cutting things or
Yeah.
cooking things. So yeah, I can jump on the line, no problem.
Yeah.
But like, I'm actually not as important as every single worker in the station, because if one of them's missing, trust me, the whole day is gonna be difficult. If
Yeah.
I'm not here, my sous chef, my chef de cuisine is gonna take over and call the pass, and everything will be fine, right? So I think it's important to understand that and to create a culture, and on many levels. Like that means that we have to have something that's healthy. We
Mhm.
need to care for our employees. We need to care for our suppliers, but we need to make sure also that our kitchens reflect society. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like sexism out the door, racism out the door. Like all these things that were really part of a very toxic environment have to be taken down, and it takes the chef to establish like that unity from the get-go. And then if people below you are not respecting what you want, they're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
they will quit immediately.
it's like, it's a start from the top and it trickles down. If you show this is the space we're in and this is a safe space, anybody who try to interject, they're gone.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that's just not and it's actually quite simple. You
Just be
have-
a nice person to start with.
It's not even that.
simple.
It's just like if you're being normal and if you're actually not like, it's almost like harder to create a toxic environment. I was
Yeah.
like, you choose for it to be
Yeah.
that way. Like it's so much easier to walk in the kitchen and people smiling, them to be happy because they're gonna do a better job. Therefore, your life is easier. You know what I mean? Like this is the reality. If the 12 people on staff today having a great day, you're gonna have a great day.
It's definitely a choice to create a toxic environment. Like if you're willing to put on a smile, make sure your team is working well, they're happy, they have taken care of. The thing is like, it's not the guest that's the most important person in the restaurant. It's your team, it's your dishwasher, it's your cook, like you said. Like it's
Dishwasher.
it's the people who you see every day.
Yeah.
They are the most important
Yeah.
people in the restaurant.
No, 100%. Because I mean, like, yeah, of course, like you need the guests for them to have work, but the reality is like their experience is really based on how. Again, I'm one person. I can't do fish, pastry, dish. Like I can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
So I need all this extension of my arms to do a great job, so everybody can have a good day, and then the guests can have a great experience. You only count for so much realistically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you need to understand that, I think, to be able to provide for
Like
your
you have to
team.
let go of your ego to understand that to start with.
That's the first one, right? Like
yeah.
even like when I would create a dish and I would have like my team be like, "Oh, it's perfect, it's amazing." I was like, "No, I don't want to hear this. Like, if you tell me this, how can I get better?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Tell me like
Some
it's
constructing
good,
criticism.
but you know what? It could use a little acid, or like it's good, but you know what? Like I was just looking for a crisp or something, like a texture." I was like, "All right, perfect. Let's move from there." But if you always like scared of the chef or afraid to tell him
You got to
like,
suck it up a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had one of my guy once, he told me, I was like, hey, like I was scrubbing veggies
Mhm.
and he's like, chef, I don't want to like, am I allowed to give you an advice? I was like, of course you are. And he showed me like one way to clean the veggies. I'm like, well, thank you so much. I've learned something.
Yeah.
And it's just showing you that you can learn from anyone
At any
every
time.
day. Exactly. So, but you have to be able to accept it.
I had a friend who's a sous chef, and he recently posted a story of him teaching a 58-year-old cook how to cut shallots, and he had a very nice caption underneath. He's like, "You're never too old to learn anything new."
Definitely
I'm
not.
like, "Yeah, man. Like, if you're willing enough, you can. Even if you're the executive chef or whatever, you can always learn something.
You don't know everything.
That's what it takes to become a chef. If you're willing to learn, that's what makes a good chef.
Yeah. And then progress, right? Like I want to be the best chef. So I need to learn more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
So,
All right. As a content creator, now a content creator and a chef, personally, I find it a bit hard to find the balance between like being a chef and a content creator as well. Where do you get your inspirations? Like, where do you go to get that spark of that inspiration?
it's tricky. I think I don't even know if there is one in the sense that like I think the system is what gets you going. Like
Yeah.
if a video does well and then you get good reviews from it, you want to create more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this, like the same way you're a comedian and the crowd's laughing and you jokes, you want to make more jokes.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of like the idea, like the spark, because it is hard. And most people are like, oh, you're a full-time content creator. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like I have 7 jobs, right?
Yeah.
So between the consulting, the private dinners, the teaching, like writing a book, a second cookbook, all that stuff, like managing and then just living. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, like we talk off camera about fitness,
Fitness
like
is huge.
adding that to my life. Like you have to fit everything. And people think social media, and I used to be that person. You just like put on a camera, you spend 5 minutes and it's over. No.
Same. I used to be that person too.
Yeah,
Like,
of
it's so
course.
easy. Like you're just talking on a camera and
Yeah.
just recording what you do, but it's
Like a food video is 6 to 8 hours of work between the cooking, the editing, the setting up, going shopping, the amount of money it costs. And we put up not every day, but like every other day. So it's a lot of work. So I think to me, it's just now, and it's sad to say, but it almost has become a job. So
Yeah.
when it's a job, like, are you happy every day when you go to work? You're not.
no.
But at the same time, I do something that the one thing that I've always done is I will never do a video of something I don't want to do. So if I'm doing a recipe, if I'm doing a video or something that I care for, that I know I'm going to enjoy eating later, that's very important again with food waste.
Yep.
I'm not going to do anything for clicks.
Just for the
because-
camera, just for the gram.
Yeah, I'm not
No.
going to do that. And it's like, and sometimes I understand that if I were going to pick the viral stuff,
Yeah.
I would have many more followers. My videos will do better, but I'm refusing. I will
But
never.
you won't be true to your
No,
audience.
I'm gonna do the more complex recipes, the more intricate stuff. I will find ways to simplify them for the everyday watcher that's
Yeah.
gonna cook in their kitchen.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna start like slapping some meat on a board and like this is not who I am. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think people come to my channel for that, and I understand it means like I may never get like millions and millions because people like that stuff, but at least I can sleep at night.
Yeah. That's the whole point. If you guys haven't checked Chef's channel yet or his Instagram, he does a really good serve it or trash it series. I've watched many of those videos and it's amazing. I actually love the concept. And which of these like for example, there's the recent one which I saw, cookie and spaghetti.
Yeah.
And then there was this tuna matcha smoothie or something, which is like very bizarre. Have you ever tried making any of those yourself, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so it's funny because at some point I was just like, should I do like a sub series of Sub It or Trash It?
Yeah.
Who's really a series for me to show my personality. Because when you do a cooking videos, no one knows who you are, what
Yeah.
you're like. And a lot of people had an idea of, they portrayed me as a certain type. And during the Sub It or Trash It, we're like, whoa, you're not at all like you thought you were. Like you're funny, like
Yeah.
you're witty, like you have sarcasm. And so I think, and those videos do so well.
I know.
So, and it's so easy to produce for me. So like it allows me to put something up in like a minute 30. But at some point I was like, I should do a sub series of sort of trash it where like I'm trying the food that they are making. And I was just like, those would do very well for views. They would do very well for clicks. But again, A, I know it's going to be gross because I understand food
You won't eat it.
and I wouldn't eat it. And
Yeah.
if I were to have a bite, what do I do with the rest?
Yeah.
It's waste.
It's a
And I
waste.
can't, I know it will do so well. I know this would get hundreds of thousands of views, but I will not do it just because it would be food waste. Like I know I don't need to,
Morally, it won't sit well with
yeah.
you.
And people know too. Like people are not stupid. They would be like, even if I was like, all right, that wasn't too bad, they'd be like, do you even have a palate? Because this is definitely horrible.
That's crazy. I genuinely love that series. I've seen so many of those. I'm like, I wish I thought of that before.
Trust me, like I don't even know. So the reason why that series came up is because again I got burnt out from creating like a video every single day. It was very expensive. It was like requiring so much time on top of my daily job. And I was just like, I need to find something that will cost me zero, that will be very quick to produce. And that's when the more people were starting to do duet, the duet option like
Yeah.
arrived. And I was like, oh, what a great way to do it. And then I started by finding the videos. And now like my phone is just like screenshots of video being sent to me. I can't even keep up. Like I think I should delete some of the screenshots because I
Like,
got like hundreds of days
do
of
do people
content
send you some videos like, can you please
every
do
day.
this?
Every day.
That's brilliant. That's
Like
brilliant.
like I no word of a lie, I probably have like 500-600 videos saved on my phone right now that I will never duet because well, there's just it keeps coming every day. But people love it. I've had a lot of people, funny enough, and it kind of breaks my heart. People on the street will stop me. I love your sort of trash it series, and I'm like, what about the cooking content?
Like,
But
I'm not serve it or
you know what I
trash
mean? I
it.
was like, is that what it is? The croissant and that. And but I'm like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. People recognize me for something. And the amount of people who are messaging me being like, I had a bad day. I saw your video and it put like a smile on my face. And thank you for that. I'm like, you know what? Just for those message alone, it's worth it.
Yeah, I that's definitely worth it. So I also want to talk about French cuisine a little. So lately, I've noticed this trend where restaurants have French techniques, but they combine it with like different flavors of the world. Like in our industry, French cuisine has been embedded as like the cuisine.
Mhm.
I'm always curious, and I want to know your opinion on that. Like, why is that? Why is like French cuisine the base of everything? Is it because the techniques, the French techniques, they adapt different cuisines very well, or is it because the chefs, when they are learning, they learn the French cuisine first and they master it? Is it that, or is it both?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, like, I'm the first one. This is my style. Like,
Yeah,
that my style is French Asian. I mean, modern molecular French Asian. This is what I learned. This is what I love the most because it just works well. And I think the first cookbooks were French. Like, and France always been known to be like the beginning of proper techniques, right? There's always been food all around the world. People always cooked, but they were the first restaurant, the first Michelin, the first space, whatever. All the culinary terms are French. So I think this is where it stems from, like the classics, the basics. But if you make a curry, doesn't have to be French, but you can brunoise the veg for it.
yeah,
I mean, you can julienne your pickled carrots or whatever you're gonna add to it. So I think it's just that's where the French come from. It's really just the technique itself. But I've said that many times, and I'm sure like my people back home wouldn't be happy. But I've always said French cuisine is very like flat line. And I'm not saying it's not tasty. It's very tasty, but it's very like monotone.
standardized as well.
Like butter, cream, wine, shallots, garlic, thyme, rosemary. Like it's all very, very good, but it's kind of like staying in that like zone.
Mm.
Now you had ginger, you had chili, you had spices, you had vinegars, and now you have like something that lives. And that's where I was just like, French cuisine is what I've started to cook. It's my home. It's what I love, but it's not always exciting. You know what I mean? And I think like you want to excite the palate. You know what I mean? Like, this is really good.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. But like, whoa, like it's dancing, like, ooh, it's spicy. Like that's gonna create way more emotions, gonna make people like want more. So I always tell people, I was just like, French cooking is great, like have it when you have it. But I think there's definitely room to do incredible food and by mixing culture.
Like experimenting a little.
Experimenting, yeah. And I mean like and like tech like I have a video coming up soon with my friend who's got Indian background, and we did like a tandoori bourguignon.
Wow.
So that was taking like a French classic and adding tandoori spices to it. And let me tell you, amazing. Like
Yeah.
you have like you're trying bourguignon, but then the spice is just awakening everything and it just works, right?
It was
So
like the aha moment, like, oh my God, I didn't expect this to go
but at
do
the
so
same
well.
time, of course it's gonna work because in India and Indian cuisine, they're gonna have a dish that is similar to it.
Yes.
Like my sous chef Peter, who's Laotian, so they cook a lot of like Chinese cuisine, and his mom, oh, not always, but cooks for me. Sometimes they were like, oh, like take some to Romain, he appreciates it. And there's that dish that's like so similar to bœuf carotte that we have in France, and I'm like, every culture is binded. Like we have the same dishes. We would be actually so silly to think that we've all created like new
Some
dishes.
unique dish.
We have the same ingredients to work with.
Yes.
We're gonna adapt them to the terroir. We're gonna adapt them to our taste buds. But we all have a type of bread. We all have a type of stew. They just taste a bit different, but like realistically, the base are the same.
The bases are the same, and you just like do some minor tweaks and call it something else. But
Yeah, but like
pretty much every cuisine has
yeah,
something
a
similar.
version of it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we do it, but it's slightly different, right? But like you can find happiness into trying a different culture because it reminds you of something that you know. It's not like like if I see a new dish that I never tried, I don't know what to expect. I'm like, okay, well, I have zero expectation. I'm trying. I like it. I don't like it. I don't know. Or I'm going into trying a different culture and I see it. I was like, yeah, I know what it is. It's a stew. I know how the stew is built. Like, I understand what's in it. So I have already idea of the taste of it. So I already know I'm going to like it or not because we are so binded within cultures and within the whole world is actually like very little. At some point, we were pretty much like all together. So, of course, and there's going to be like some differentiation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like we eat the same food.
We eat the same food. We pretty much live the same life as well.
Yeah, like you want your carbs, you want your veggies, you want your protein. You know what I mean?
As a cook, I feel like this is something I've noticed. I want your opinion on this as well. As a cook, the essence of cooking is basically serving someone else.
Mhm.
In that sense, serving someone else is also me trying to get some validation from that person, like, oh, the food was good, or it tastes really good. As a chef, I feel like we sometimes crave for that validation. But at what point do you think that the validation stops being a motivation and starts creating a problem? Like, where do we find that balance between like craving for validation and then still doing which is true to our creation?
So I agree with you that I think we are cooking for someone, and that's why I always use the word love, that
Yes.
pinch of love. And I know it's so cliche, but I will always like standing by that phrase. If you don't put love into the food, people are gonna taste it like 100%. And so, as a young cook, I was always looking for validation.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to show you I'm the most technical. I can do the best plating, that I'm better than everyone. I was like that. But that fades away.
Immediately.
I don't like, I don't know, up to maybe I was like 30 and something. Like it was always like proof, 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 proof. And then you mature as a cook. Now I don't care because the reality, I don't need your validation because I know the food is good.
Yeah.
Like I'm confident enough with my food to know it's good. You may not like it, but it's good.
But that's your own opinion.
It's your opinion, and it's completely okay for you not to like my food, but I know it's balanced. I know it's seasoned well. I know it's cooked perfectly. I know it has everything it needs to. So when somebody tells me like, "Oh, the food was great," I'm like, "I know, I served it." So like, if I served it, it's good. So this is like you maturing as a cook,
Yeah.
and it's not like ego or whatever. It's like, no, I've been doing this for so long, I know it's good. So eventually, you lose that like I need to prove you, and you're actually just cooking to make people not for validation, but for a smile.
Yeah.
I don't cook for validation. I cook for a smile. I cook to make people happy. I cook for people to feel like they were taken care of, like that this like like commitment of love. You know what I mean? It's like I cooked for you. The same way nobody wants to cook for me because they're like, I'm scared or whatever. I'm afraid of cooking for you. I'm like,
Because you'll be a very bad judge or something.
and I'm
But
like,
that's not true.
the one you can make me a ham and cheese sandwich, but because you made it for me, I would have emotion. I would feel. I would be like so thankful and grateful for it because somebody's made food for me, and because I do it every day, and I know the feeling I'm trying to put into these people for them to do it for me. I would be like, oh, like thank you. It could be a salad, it could be a simple soup, but you've made it. You put effort into it. You wanted me to be happy, and I feel it in the food. And that's the only feeling I want from people that try my food. You don't have to tell me it's good. Like, I just want you to be happy with it. If you don't like it, I will make you something else.
Yeah.
But like, this is the only feeling I want from people is just love at this point.
This is something that has happened to me as well, where people are actually like very scared to present me food. And I'm like, listen, like I know what it takes to make food. I know it's hard work. I know you have put love in it. And people tend to forget that in the end, we are like chefs who love food. So you can give me whatever you want, however you have cooked it. I'll always appreciate
Yeah.
because I'm a foodie at heart
Yeah.
first.
And you understand the effort.
Yeah.
And that's the most you can ask. I mean, somebody the same way I always say we should be grateful for people who are eating our food because whether it's a guest, a friend, a loved one, people can make very basic food at a very low price and just be fed. But something I said like years ago, it's like I don't cook to feed you, but I cook to take you on a journey. Because I think people have chosen to come to you. They spend money maybe on an Uber or driving. They're paying for parking. They dressed up. They put some makeup on. They've done their hair. Whatever the case may be, they're like made a lot of effort to come into your house, whether it's a restaurant or your actual home. And now they're like trusting you now to eat your food, to trust you with everything you've done.
Yeah.
And for that, we should be grateful. And this is where hospitality come from.
Yeah.
And we have to reward them. And I think we cannot just look a customer, a guest, like I don't want to do this.
Like just slap something on the plate and like just
You
eat your
can't.
food. And no,
Like
you cannot.
people have done so much to be here.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to. Like they really didn't, especially in this economy when people actually like take a chance on you and willing to spend some money on you. You have to be grateful for it and you have to show them that love. They'll be like, I'm thankful. Thank you so much. Let me take care of you.
That's a very fresh perspective because as a young cook, we always or sometimes tend to forget that part of it where we are like, okay, I'm just here for a paycheck or I'm just here for whatever. But you have to understand that like people have taken effort, they have taken the time out of their day to be here, be in front of you. You might as well treat your restaurant as a theater where they're here for
Yeah.
a show.
And I see that even more with the private dining because you would have told me I would be cooking at people's houses before COVID. I would have laughed at your face. I was like, I ain't going to nobody's house.
Yeah.
And I love those private dinner. And I tell people they understand that when you come to the restaurant, there's 20 people cooking your plate.
Yeah.
Not the chef. The chef created the plate, but now it's in other people's hand. In a private dining situation, I'm in your home. I've prepped the food. I've washed the dishes, and I'm cooking the food and plating it. I'm putting it in front of you, and I'm telling you what's on the plate.
Yeah.
That is luxury that you would never have at a restaurant. or
Yeah.
like very, very little chance unless you do like a kitchen table or something like that. But what an honor to be able to literally see your guest eating your food live.
And give you like immediate
Feedback. And
feedback.
it's a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Like they book you. The food is almost second. They book you to have you
For
in
your
their home.
personality.
Your personality, you have to put on a show because they chose you to be in their home. Like this is even more private. It's not
Yeah.
like they came to your restaurant and into your house. They invited you
You're
to
getting into
theirs.
their life at
And
this
that's
point.
even more like you have to be more grateful for that.
Yeah.
And you have to deliver and let me tell you, the storytelling, the show will make your food taste 100 times better because you're giving them so much more than a plate of food. And that goes a long way.
That's a fun experience. At some point, I would like to experience that as well. Private dinings.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And as a chef, economically speaking, it makes sense. If
Yeah.
I'm at a restaurant, I have to have 50 items on the menu. I have no idea how much is going to be eaten. So I have to carry stock.
Mhm.
Private dining, the menu is set in advance. I know exactly what I'm taking. I know exactly what my costs are. I know exactly how much money I'm taking home.
Plus, no overhead.
No overhead. So I know going into it, I was like, I've made X amount of money and it will take me like 2 weeks in the restaurant to make that much money because there's so many costs associated.
Yeah.
So for that as well, that people chose you and to pay you a lot of money, you have to give them 200%.
That's a win-win situation.
They're happy, you're happy.
Exactly. Now, time for that fun little story. Okay, so I'll tell you this story. This is a bit weird and funny at the same time.
I like weird and funny.
So, yeah. So back in 2018, I was in George Brown College.
Okay.
In one of the classes, we made peach flan, and everyone in the class plated that peach flan exactly the way the chef instructor showed them. But I was watching a lot of Chef's Table and everything, so I was like, you know what, I'll plate it differently. I plated it, and at that time, I thought it was so pretentious. And then I posted on Instagram, and you were the first chef ever to like that photo. And you don't know, but that really helped me, and it kind of helped me be more in touch with my instincts in the kitchen. So, firstly, thank you for that, because that
Thank
kind
you.
of took me to a journey of like, okay, you have to believe in yourself and like instinctively, whatever comes, put it on a plate. And even if it's bad or good, it will do great. But as a seasoned chef, do you think it's important for you to support and encourage young cooks like that?
For sure. I mean, like, even now as a part-time teacher at George Brown, and I do a continuing education, which means like I don't have young students, I have adults that just want to learn how to cook. And hopefully people at George Brown are gonna be mad at me, but I always tend to go off the book.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, sure, you do have to do this. Like, if I tell you to do poach some fish, don't sear chicken. I mean, like, this is too far off. But I always encourage them. I was like, listen, plate your food differently. You have an example in the video, go rogue. Make what makes you happy. You want to add some parsley? Add some parsley. Find your journey. Like plating, I know this is one of my skills, always has to be the plating. Like this is also what separates, like again, the Michelin star world or like the creativity and the plating, the eye. That's just like the artistic that not every chef has, and that's completely okay. If your food's tasty, I don't care if it's
Yeah.
pretty. But if you have an opportunity to make it stand out and to make it beautiful, go for it because it costs $0 to plate it differently, to make it more standing out. Like don't like squish everything, like give them like plate them with
Put
height.
some effort in it.
Exactly. So like to me, and people who send me their photo or their dishes like on social media like every day.
Yeah.
And is it always pretty? No. Like am I always like this is the most beautiful dish I've ever seen? No, but I'm like, but there is a thought behind it. There's a construction. Like I know what you
What
tried.
the idea
It's
was.
also what you're playing with.
Yeah.
Like I can create a dish in my head and put it to, and I'm gonna get everything I want to make it look beautiful. In that case, you had a peach flan. Like you can only do so much.
Yeah.
Like if you give me a beef bourguignon, there's nothing I can do. Like beef bourguignon looks like a stew.
Yeah.
So you're so limited. But 100%, I encourage like older seasoned chef to support the young and the youth because that's who's gonna be in your kitchen. That's who's gonna take after. I'm not one to want to hold the fort forever. I want to retire at some point. Like, trust me, I'm gonna be 40 this year. I give myself like, if I can retire in 10 years, I'll retire in 10 years. I'm not one to want to hold on to things. Same
Yeah.
with social media and creation. It started for me in 2014, my first TV. So it's 11 years, let's say right now.
Yeah.
I do not think, and I hope I can do it for the rest of my life until I decide that I'm done with it. But I don't have the pretension to think I'm gonna be like interesting and hot for forever. I think at some point it's gonna be somebody that's gonna be me right now that's gonna take the stage, and I encourage them to, because I would have had done my time, and I wish people that are generation like ahead of me
Yeah.
would do the same thing.
Yeah.
They don't, whatever. But to me, it's like, you're the next talent. The scene is yours. Like, I will mentor you. I've not on a daily basis, but people ask me for advice, I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
I've been through it. Why wouldn't I? And
Pass
I
the
think
torch.
and you know what? I can place a call right now. I mean, like, I need 2 staff next week on Tuesday. I have 10 people that are going to say I'm available. And not because I'm amazing, not because I'm the nicest person, just because I always took care of them, because I trust them, give them validation. I want to make sure they're taken care of, like financially as well, and they'll come. There's no secret, and they know that it's not about me; it's about us.
Yeah.
And when you understand that, and it's like, if you're not relevant, but you're mentoring someone is, you kind of still is relevant, because you're using your what you know to make them shine, so they live through you and what you know. So you've passed on the torch, as you mentioned. And one of the best compliment I had, or I have, is when a colleague messages me and is like, "Oh, I have one of your cooks. I can tell it worked for you."
Wow.
I don't need to tell you like, "Oh, your food's amazing, your food's pretty, like you're nice." No. Antonio Park um literally texts me and is like, "Thank you." And I'm like,
For
"For
what?
what?" And because he had my old pastry chef, and then Chef de Cuisine was one of my sous chef at previous restaurant. It's like, "Thank you for training people the proper way, for having talent." It's like, I can tell they're the way that they are because they've been modeled with
Yeah.
you. That's the best compliment a chef can
That's
get.
a huge compliment. I feel like that's the best compliment
That's the
you
best
can get.
compliment you can give it to me.
Like,
Not like telling me I'm great, telling me people that work with me are great. That's far more important for me, because, like, okay, like, again, I'm done with the ego. Tell me every day I'm great. It doesn't do anything. Like, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, thank you." Well,
Yeah.
of course I'm gonna be saying thank you, I'm grateful, but like, it's not gonna make me like being overjoyed. I've worked really hard to be there.
Yeah.
This is just my job, and this is what I do. But to hear that somebody who's worked with me and work in a different kitchen now, because the reality is, if I'm the chef, they can only go so far with me.
Yeah.
I want them to be chefs of their own, so they're gonna have to move on
Yeah.
and take the position that were not available under me. I encourage them to do that, not to like plateau, but if they're gonna go up, of course they should. But when the chef of that location calls me and was like, "She's amazing, he's amazing, and I can tell they work like you," best compliment I could get.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of like even me, including myself and a lot of my friends who are currently like CDC or now slowly will become the head chef. I think this should be, or this can be one of their purpose. Like, firstly, yes, go become a very good head chef, know the in and outs, like how to create a dish, the menu, the costing, and all that comes with it. But after that, after you have become a chef for a while, I think that should be the next purpose, to build like
It's
very meaningful relationships and have like a brand of yourself where you said like, oh, if I look at a cook, like, oh, that cook has worked under Sahil, or that cook has worked under someone else. Like, that's the
that's your
purpose.
legacy. Also,
Yeah, that's the legacy.
I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, we're on Earth for so long. Where we would be remembered as of whatever? Like, you write a cookbook, your cookbook is here forever.
Yeah.
Whether like people find a copy of it in 200 years, like, the book still exists. And I mean, it's out there. That's your legacy. Your work, like, if you look at Alain Ducasse or the chefs, their legacy gonna be on and on and on and on for like years, because they've trained chefs, that have trained chefs, that have trained chefs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So like, this is your legacy.
Yeah.
And this is how you have to look at it. It's not about you. It's about like what you're leaving behind.
It's about others.
It's about others. And if you're gonna leave something behind, it better be good, because otherwise, then
Because it
great.
will be talked about.
Yeah, you remember, first of all, yes or no, and if so, is it for the good or is it for the bad? Like I prefer for
To
people to
be for the
remember
good.
me as somebody who actually made an impact
Yeah.
versus that was just the guy that was just like, yeah, his food was good,
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice, but that was it. No, I
But
don't want
he
that.
was an asshole.
Exactly.
You don't
Or
want to
like I was
be
like, yeah,
that.
it was pretty and tasty, but whatever. As another 10,000s of chefs, you'll never be the best chef, and that's one thing that if young people are watching right now and they're like, I want to be better than someone, I would tell you right away, you'll never be the best chef in the world. There's always going to be somebody better than you, and that's completely okay. The one thing you can do is better yourself.
Yeah.
Be a better version of where you were the like prior to the yesterday. That's what you should focus on. That's how you're gonna make moves and climb the ladder, as I mentioned earlier. That's my one advice. Don't try to be better than someone. Try to be better than yourself, and that's how you're gonna really have an amazing journey.
That's good advice. Thank you for that. Uh, Also, you have made a very nice transition from working in kitchens full time to now you're doing content creation, private dinings, and all these 7, 8, 9, 10. I
Yeah,
don't know what
there's
else,
a
what
lot. Yeah,
exactly you do. But what advice would you give to someone who's trying to do that? Say, for example, I'm trying to get into content
mhm.
creation and juggle other jobs as well. Like, what advice? What challenges you had? What advice would you give?
I think a lot of it is not knowing your potential. Like I didn't know I could do all that. I didn't know I could.
Doubting yourself?
Yeah. Well, it's just not even doubting. It's just like you don't know.
Mm,
Like, did I know I could be good on camera? Did I know I could do public speaking? Did I know I could consult for the restaurant? Like, did I know I could fully edit a video from start to finish? I didn't
yeah,
because I didn't try.
yeah,
So I think also because we are so formatted to be like, you leave school, you get a job, you get to the highest position you can get, make the highest
to
money, you
climb the same
retire.
ladder.
And COVID shifted that.
Yeah,
I was like, disturbed it. I was like, no, now you need to do something else. You don't have the choice. And another advice I will give to young cook: education.
mm,
That is, I went to university. I mean, as a cook, I said at 13, I did my first 2 exams, 4 years. They are like solely learning how to be a chef. And after that, usually you go into the work system. But I went back. I mean, I was still at school, but like I went back into the more intense school system with more management, like harder, right? Exams. And I did another exam of 2 years, and I went to university after, and I had a degree. And when I worked at it to start, they thought I was going to be like a little scrawny kids with glasses, like the cliche of the guy who
yeah,
works a lot at school. And I was just like, no, but again, the reason why I'm able to have a company, to do spreadsheets, to be an accountant, to do all my invoices, all of that is because I learned it at school. So that's one thing I would give an advice on is like make sure you have a proper education, because a lot of people that work for me aren't chefs anymore. Like one works in a car shop, one is a plumber, one is doing different type of cooking, and that's completely okay. They have to
yeah.
do what's right for them. But if you allow yourself to have a higher education, you have a higher chance to pivot and do different things. And
A lot of doors open.
a lot of doors open. And as a chef, being in the food business, there's so much we can do. Like so many things. We have to just be aware of it, that stop the cycle, think, and try. Like I did my cookbook.
Yeah,
I hired a stylist, a food stylist. It's just like I don't need a food stylist. Like, and then I became a food stylist, and I was a prop stylist because I looked, I was like, I can do that.
yeah,
And then I was hired to do a major cookbook as a stylist. So it's all these things that when I got my first position as chef, I didn't know I could be a chef. I just, all right, this is your turn
you're
to
just
do it.
thrown into it.
And when you're a young cook, you're like, oh my God, like, what
What am
does
I gonna
chef
do?
do?
Yeah,
What does he do? How does he know what to do? But then you just get on those shoes. It's like, okay, that's how I got to do it. And that works with every realm and every position within the food industry. You never know what you don't know until you get into it, and then you sink or swim.
yeah,
And I'm not saying it's pleasant. Sometimes you doubt it, like you're not too sure, but There's enough resources out there. There's enough people you can talk to. Like, again, people message me, they ask me a question, I'll answer. If I have the answer, I will answer.
Yeah.
And I think this is important to know, that you're never alone. And if you are a kind enough human, people will help you to go places you need to.
Like whatever you're going through, people have already been through it. You just need to find the right
Yeah.
people who can answer your questions.
And if they haven't, like, just try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, worst case, you fail. And you know what? Every success is based on failure. Like, nobody just picked, like, I don't know, like, I'm boxing. Do you think, like, the first day I was just like shifting every move, knowing how to move? Of course not. I was just like a bag. I was like so horrible at moving. 2 years in, yeah, now I can, like, I want to fight. But like, it takes experience, it takes practice, and it takes failure. You're gonna get punched before you're able to punch properly. It's just the way it is. And you should never be afraid of failure, or else you're never gonna have many successes.
It takes a lot of reps of failing even before you taste your first success.
It's like simple things as making a proper julienne. How many juliennes I had to do to make a proper one?
Yeah.
Like kilos of carrots and leeks and whatever. People are like, your knife skills are incredible. I'm like, yeah, well, it didn't happen overnight. It happened over 25 years. And that's just one thing you need to remember. Like, experience, there's no cheating. Like, you have to go through it.
Agreed.
And failing is okay. Just don't repeat the same mistake. That's all.
That's all. Let's talk about that cookbook you mentioned, the vegan bridge. Why vegan bridge?
Because it came from two places. The first one was me being, as I mentioned, about food waste. Sustainability is also a big something I care about. And I was just like, okay, if I want to be sustainable, I have to reduce the amount of protein I'm eating. So I'm going to eat lesser quantities. And I was like, that's not enough. Like, if I want to be true to myself, I have to do more to show that I'm trying to be sustainable for future generations. And I was like, not only I have to reduce the amount of animal proteins, I need to, like, some days don't have any.
Yeah.
So plant-based is obviously the solution. And so to look out there, and I was like, what's the offering? Well, it's not very great. It's a lot of, which is funny because I feel like people have such a horrible vision of what plant-based food is. But you know, the problem is us,
Yeah.
chefs. We've never put an effort into showing our guests that plant-based food was incredible. I go to France, I don't even see a vegetarian option, let alone vegan. And if it is, it's going to be something put together like very quickly. Like back in 2011, I was already doing like 15-course vegan menus as a sous chef at Corbeau Lane when I was there.
Yeah.
And people were like, this is amazing. It's not difficult to cook with grains and veggies and whatever.
I feel like it has been neglected for so long.
It just has been by us chefs.
Yeah.
And we have to change that and not pretending it's like, oh, it looks like a chicken. No, it doesn't look like a chicken.
No, it doesn't have to look like a chicken.
No,
make it look like what it is.
It's a lentil, and it's a delicious lentil dish. Make it taste like a delicious lentil dish. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, there's like my human side and it's my chef side. And I was like, those two sides have to come together to show an offering of plant-based dishes that are incredible for what they are. And my parents, who were very French and very meat eaters, the cookbook launched when I was home.
Yeah.
And I did like a 10 days prior to launching the cookbook. Every day I would post a video with a recipe from the book. My parents were eating the food and they're like, it's amazing, it's delicious. Like, oh my God, I could never thought. And even one dessert, I did two versions of it. I did a plant-based version of it. That was a clafouti, and a regular one. And I brought it to a dinner party. I didn't say nothing. The plant-based one, people appreciated more. And it's just showing that if it's done well, there's nothing wrong with plant-based, but we've categorized it as like kale salad and quinoa.
Yeah.
And that's all that you can do. Or like this fake chicken or this fake meat
Impossible burgers or something like
which
that.
are the worst. Like, I refuse to work with them. They offered
Yeah.
me like a gig, so much money. I was like, no, you're literally everything I hate about what plant-based food could be. So that's why I was just like, and then we pitched it. And every publisher was like, we want him to do a book, but we don't want him to do a plant-based book.
Wow.
And I was just like, this, I will not do. This is what I want to do. I don't care to have a book. Like, I don't have to have one. I was like, it's either that or I don't do a book. And then finally the publisher, like one publisher said yes. And And to me, whether the book, like, I mean, the book did well in the sense that like it got like top 25 cookbook of Canada of 2024. So like the book did well of its own because the recipe are great, and I co-wrote it with my friends and pastry chef. So like it's high level. There's very simple stuff and some very complex recipes because it's like a chef can learn from the cookbook.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I want chefs to understand, hey, maybe we should kind of like think
Maybe
of
we
that
should.
more often
Yeah.
and put some effort into it. And well, 11 Madison Park literally switched to vegan as I was releasing my book. I was just like, well, if I needed validation, here it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
I really like the poached pear and crumble recipe that was in there.
Such a good
It
one.
looks so good. I'm yet to try it out, but at least visually it looks so good.
And like the reality, I've had people who've used the recipes and sometimes they make them vegetarian. And sometimes they will add a little protein. And I'm like, you know what? If you at least reduce the amount of protein or if you made it vegetarian, to me, I'm not trying to convert anyone. I just want people to understand and change their vision of what plant-based cooking is. That's all. And if one person like decide to become flexitarian, fantastic. I mean, like I've won. Or
Yeah.
if people are aware and like are willing to listen, again, like I've made a dent. Like I'm not God trying to change people's like way of eating. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not my goal. I never
You're
was.
not trying to be preachy at all.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, this, like, give it a try. If you don't like it, fair enough. But I've tried every single recipe, of course, and let me tell you, they're all really, really delicious.
For those of us who are watching this, where can we buy the book?
I mean, like through me, so I can give like a little. I sign the books if you buy it from me, but you have to pay for shipping. But like it's also available on Amazon and every good bookstores.
Perfect. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you
though.
very much.
It looks really nice.
It's a lot of work.
The whole package looks very well put.
Much appreciated.
Well, with that being said, we're towards the end of the show. It was really, really nice talking to you. You had a very fresh perspective on everything, which is, for me at least, really nice to see. I can definitely learn a thing or two from you, maybe be the next torchbearer myself. And thank you for coming.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And exactly, again, it's all about bettering ourselves.
Perfect. And with that being said, I'll put Chef's Instagram in the bio. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one.